I am Lily Donovan, and this is my story. My family has just had a history of being messy af. Ellie is the golden dogue at home, what with her bad heart and all. Our mom. Yeah, she's fixated on Ellie, except Ellie, who was born sickly, and so she got extra eyes on her, extra care. Mom followed her around, always checking to see that she was breathing properly, eating all the right things or warm enough, as if I were some new piece of furniture in the house. Anyway, Dad was different. He was my champ. He was my go-to whenever I wanted something. His smile, laughter, and would hear you out. Not just that, but actually listen. But Ellie was virtually guaranteed attention without seeking it, and all the drama that came with caregiving. Like how one morning at the breakfast table, I had my second coffee scanning through job adverts. Dad was down there at the other end, giving that sports page like it held all life's hidden secrets. Without warning, Ellie breezes in all theatrically as if she's about to unleash some Shakespearean tragedy. She's ordered a script for me, and the following scene has already arrived. My heart ain't right again, Ellie gasps. Mom jumps out her seat like some lit a fire under her. What does that mean, hon? You feeling okay? You need anything? Rebuffed. Ellie. No thanks, I'm still going on holiday. Doctor's orders. Dad peeks over his paper and says, That sucks, kiddo. Me, I sit there quiet as a mouse like WTF is there to say. Ellie's illness rocks our family, every little part of it. But before I can manage even a shrug, Mom gives me one of those looks, you know the kind of looks, petulant eyes locked onto mine, as though my decision to remain silent has just made the insensate act that is kicking puppies. Then suddenly I choose to let my view be known. Maybe it's not the end of the world, eh? Mom almost jumps at me. Lily, can't you see your sister's struggling? Ellie just slurps her juice, watching the show. I shrug, just saying there's worse stuff out there, ain't there? Ellie puts her glass down and says, Nice, sis, real supportive. Dad finally puts down the paper like he's about to referee a boxing match. Ease up on your sister, Ellie. But Mom ain't having it. She can at least act like she cares. I push back from the table. This is the same old song and dance, I tell them straight. Look, Ellie plays sick and we all gotta dance. I'm sick of it, literally. Ellie's eyes go all wide like she can't believe I'd say that, but come on, it's been the story of my life. Dad gets that I'm fed up and tries to smooth things over. Let's all just calm down, but I've already grabbed my jacket. Walking out, I toss over my shoulder. I'll be back when the drama is done. You can bet they had a lot to say after I left, but honestly, for once, it was nice not to hear it. Dad understood. Mom was pissed. And Ellie? Well, Ellie was Ellie. That's family for you. My sights were set on college. It was my out. It wasn't just about getting away. It was about getting somewhere. Grades had been my weapon of choice, and I wielded them well. I scored a ticket to a good school, a scholarship to boot. Ellie, despite everything, made it to college too, though it was clear her path there was marked by a different set of expectations. She was out to prove something, but I still wasn't quite sure what. You gotta aim high, Lil, Dad said once as we cleared plates, his hand landing heavy and sure on my shoulder. Don't let anyone dim your lights, hear me. Yeah, Dad, I hear you, I smiled, tucking those words close. It was the quiet fuel I needed to soar, to escape, to be more than just Lily Donovan, sister to the kid with the weak heart, daughter to a mother with uneven scales. College was a different world. I had my nose in the books, pushing hard to make something of myself. Ellie, she just couldn't hack it. She was lost, floundering in seminars and lectures like she was trying to read a map with no legend. She dropped the news on me like a bomb, the tinny voice from my cell phone speaker signaling surrender. College ain't my jam, Lily, Ellie said, her words lackluster. I'm dropping out. I balanced the phone between my ear and shoulder, multitasking between the call and my constitutional law textbook. You're bailing? Just like that. Got better things lined up than being a brain like you, she snapped back, a heavy dose of her trademark venom in her voice, the same one that could turn from sweetie to serpent in a single sentence. So what? You're skipping off into the sunset with the first guy who bats an eye? I snorted. Exactly, she hissed. Someone's got to live a little while you bury yourself in those dusty books. Wouldn't want to die alone with cats as my only company. I squeezed the bridge of my nose. Ellie could never resist a jab. Next thing I knew, I was sitting in the back of a dimly lit church, law book hidden in my lap, as Ellie started down the aisle. She had nabbed herself a husband before she'd even figured out who she was. It was like she was playing life's game without bothering to learn the rules. After the I do's, she swanned over with her glass raised, smirking like she'd won some sort of race. Cheers to me, the married woman. And to you, Lily, maybe you'll graduate to cat lady soon, she snickered, cruelty wrapped in a toast. I bit back the anger, knowing Ellie relished any sign of getting under my skin. Maybe, but at least I'll have a law degree to hang on the wall, cats or not. Her eyes narrowed. You think you're better than me with your big dreams of being a hotshot lawyer. She flittered away to go cut the cake. A part of me wanted to scream, to shake some sense into her, but I stayed in my seat, the anger simmering. Back on campus, I poured myself more into my studies. The late nights were my fortress from Ellie's barbed comments. Every essay, every exam was another brick in my walls, fortifying my future against her cynicism. Ellie and I were on divergent paths, she reveling in the now with a sharp tongue, and I building a foundation for tomorrow with gritted teeth. That was just the way of it. You can't pick your family, but you sure as hell can pick which of their words to listen to. And Ellie's? I was learning to let them go like seeds in the wind, insignificant and unworthy of taking root. Turning 30 hit different. The job at Uncle John's law firm was steady. Every day in court was like a chess game. I'd become good at it, keeping my cool under those fluorescent lights. Mark and I had been an item since who knows when, and we figured, why not make it official? So we planned to. Dad's been gone a while now. I don't bring it up much. Stuff happened. He's not here. We move on. That means I've kind of been both the rock and the hard place for myself. When I said to Mom and Ellie, "Hey, I'm marrying Mark in a bit," they just shrugged. That's nice, Mom said without looking up from her cards. Ellie? She couldn't even pause her TV show. I heard her mumble a congrats, buried under a heap of reality show noise and the screams of her children. Where is her husband, Dave? He was almost never at home. Living with Uncle John's sometimes biting sense of legal wisdom wasn't much different. I'd tell him about the upcoming wedding, and he'd just grunt, "You sure about the prup? Romance isn't exactly our family style." So here I am, 2 weeks out, and it's all about the bare minimum. I want a quiet day. Some folks would take Mom and Sis ignoring the whole deal like a punch. I take it like a typical Tuesday. No help, no problem. It's just Mark and me, and that's plenty. I draft my own contracts by day, iron out merge clauses, and at night I scroll through potential honeymoon spots on my phone. No fluff, just picking a place to unwind after the case I just cracked. I need it. Weddings bring out the strange in folks, I guess. Mom's suddenly caught up with her bridge club, acting like playing cards is her full-time job. I dropped by to give her an update on the new dress I picked, not that she asked. She barely glances up. "Don't stress, it'll be fine. Full house," she says. I should have knocked. "Cool, Mom," I say, but I'm talking to the wall because she's dealing cards again. Ellie's the same. She calls and it's one crisis after another. I can't find a dress. She complains over the phone. "Ellie, just wear something from your closet." She huffs like I've suggested hiking Everest in flip-flops. "Fine," she snaps. I go about my days, bits and pieces of the wedding falling together between deposition prep and client consultations. Mark's doing his share, but mostly he's just keeping me sane. Always a joke ready to diffuse my stress like a bomb squad pro. I handle the indifference from Mom and Ellie the same way I manage everything else, with a little nod and a lot of getting on with it. It's like being in the eye of my own personal hurricane, watching all the whirlwinds but not really feeling them. I've gotten good at it, too good, maybe. In the end, it's simple. I'm not walking down the aisle to make a statement. It isn't a parade or a show. It's just signing papers, making things official, a modest gathering for a lifetime of more down-to-earth moments with Mark. He's the I do at the end of my very practical, very organized checklist. As for Mom and Ellie, well, they'll show up or they won't. The wedding will happen, and then life will roll on. It always does. I was mid-sentence with a contractor, haggling over the price of folding chairs, when Mom's call threw everything off balance. Her voice, usually as steady as a metronome, was all over the place, like a needle jumping grooves on a record. "Honey, Ellie's been left by her husband with 2 kids," she said, and I could almost picture her hand fluttering to her chest, the way she does when the latest gossip hits. I was so stunned I almost dropped the phone. "What? You're joking." "No, dear, I wish I were. She's a mess. We're all in shock. It's just, would you consider postponing?" I bristled at the notion, felt that stubborn streak flare up. "Postpone? Mom, I've got a timetable tighter than a drum here, you know that." "But Ellie's going to have to deal with her own mess." I cut in with an edge that said the discussion was closed. But Mom wasn't done. She needs us, needs family. Maybe it's not a good time for a wedding. I scoffed. "And when is it ever a good time, huh? Look, I'm sorry for Ellie, but life doesn't stop. Mine doesn't, at least." I turned to Mark, who had witnessed the tail end of the call, his eyebrows doing a high wire act. "What now?" he asked, towing the line between concern and asking for the mess report. "Ellie's husband ditched her. Mom wants us to push back the wedding." His eyes widened slightly. "Wow, are we?" I shook my head. "No way. We've bent over backward for this family enough." He nodded, his hand finding my shoulder, a silent signal of support. "All right, but you okay with that?" I took a deep breath, somewhere between frustration and determination. "Hell yes. It's our turn, Mark. We've done the waiting, the pleasing, remember?" "I remember," he said, his low voice steady as ever. "It's just, family is." I raised a hand. "Don't say complicated. It's overrated." Mark chuckled, a low rumble in his chest. "All right, tough cookie, you call the shots." A mix of guilt and relief swirled in me. But I pushed it down. I had enough on my plate without adding second helpings of pity for Ellie. Life ensued. I went back to ticking off checkboxes, ignoring the clawing feeling that comes with not being the good guy, or in this case, the good sister. The day didn't start off great, and I could tell it was only destined to nosedive from there. Mark was trying to steer clear of any drama, but somehow we wound up accepting the dinner invite at Mom's place. Just a family get-together, she said, but I knew better. As soon as we walked in, the air was heavy, kind of like walking into a wall. Mom had that stern look plastered on her face, and Ellie, my sister, she was already a few glasses in, her eyes red and puffy, like she'd been crying or something. I barely got my coat off before Ellie slurred out, "Lily, you gotta understand." Her voice wobbled like one of those wacky inflatable arm guys outside a car dealership. "I'm going through hell, and there you are, parading your happiness around." She clutched at her heart out of habit, even though we all knew her childhood illness had long sunk into oblivion. Stiffening up, I shot back, "Ellie, it's not like that, and you know it. Stop playing the victim." Mark put a hand on my shoulder, urging me to ease up, but I was past fed up. Mom chimed in then, her voice cold as ice. "Lily, we're just asking for a little compassion. Is that too much?" I could feel the temperature drop with her every word. Still, Mark and I were a united front. "We've planned this for a year," Mark said, his firmness a surprise even to me. It's not just Lily's call, it's mine too, and we're not postponing." Mom gave us a hard look, her lips pressed into a thin line. "Ungrateful," she hissed at me. "After all we've done for you." I snorted, narrowing my eyes. Ungrateful? Really? For what exactly? That's when Mom dropped the real bomb, her voice a mix of fury and something that sounded like a twisted form of caring. "If you can't cancel your wedding, then at least skip your honeymoon. Stay and watch your nieces and nephews. Give your sister a break to travel. Let her heal." Mark snorted, disbelief coloring his chuckle. "Are you serious right now? We're supposed to give up our honeymoon for Ellie's getaway." Ellie stood up, swaying a little as she leaned across the table with a sneer. "Yeah, 'cause why should you be happy if I'm not?" I stood up too, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Enough, Ellie. Life doesn't stop for you. I'm getting married and I'm going on my honeymoon." End of discussion. Mom stared at us, eyes flinty. "If you walk out that door, Lily, don't bother coming back. And if I stay, what do I get? Guilt-tripped and walked over my entire life." I snapped, already heading for the door. Mark was right behind me. Neither of us looked back, even as the door slammed shut with a sound that said more clearly than any words could, the line was drawn. It was us against them, and I was done playing by their crazy rules. I was knee-deep in tulle and good wishes when Uncle John's number lit up my phone. "Ain't this the time when you're supposed to be getting pampered or something?" was his gruff opener when I answered. "Yeah, well, you know how it goes," I replied, half laughing despite the frustrations nipping at my heels. "You got a minute?" he asked. His voice had that no-nonsense edge to it that I remembered from when I was a kid. "Sure, lay it on me," I said, stepping out onto the venue's balcony for some privacy. "It's about your mom's latest request." Uncle John started, and I braced myself. "Listen, kiddo, she tried to strong-arm me to cancel your vacation. No vacation, no honeymoon. Says it's what family does, supports each other, and all that jazz." I felt my hands clench around the phone. "Is that right?" I managed to say, trying to keep the ice out of my voice. "Yeah, but don't worry, I told her where to shove it," Uncle John replied, and I could almost hear him spitting the words out. "Uncle Jay, you didn't have to get involved," I said, the gratitude and stress mixing up inside me. "And I'll fight your corner any day. This is your time. You and Mark deserve to enjoy all of it without any crap thrown your way." "I just can't believe she's trying to ruin my wedding and break my honeymoon," I said, rubbing my temple. "Stubborn as a mule, that sister of mine," he chuckled, but it was that kind of laugh that didn't reach the eyes. "Anyway, I've got your back. You two just focus on tying the knot and then getting naughty on your own time, if you catch my drift." I laughed, a real laugh this time. Couldn't have said it better myself, Uncle. "Course you couldn't. I'm the family wordsmith," he said, his voice proud as a peacock. Then he lowered it a notch. "Remember, kiddo, you're doing nothing wrong. Go get married, be happy." I promised I would and hung up, feeling a notch lighter, but with the weight of the whole situation still sitting on my chest like an unwelcome cat. The rehearsal dinner was buzzing when I got back. Mark caught my eye across the room and frowned when he saw my face. "Everything okay?" he mouthed. I nodded and made my way through a sea of relatives and friends, plastering on a smile like it was lipstick. Mark met me halfway, his hands finding mine, his eyes searching my face. "You're worrying me," he said. It was Uncle John. Mom's trying to recruit him into her save the date, but screw the honeymoon campaign. I sighed, feeling the whole thing spill out again. He snorted. "She's relentless." "Like a dog with a bone," I agreed. "But Uncle John's not biting. I swear he's the only one actually standing up for us." "Well, we've got each other. That's the main thing," Mark replied, and wrapped me in a hug that felt like armor against the world's crazy. The murmur of family and friends bubbled around us, all unsuspecting of the undercurrents they were swimming in. The table settings gleamed, glasses clinked, and laughter soared like fireflies in the evening light. As I lay down that night, with the stars wearing their best shine outside my window, I could only hope that our next chapter would be written on the bright side of this often too-shadowed world. Mark's steady breathing in the dark was a promise and a question all at once. It didn't matter what came next. His yes matched my yes, and that felt like the only answer we'd ever need. After what they tried to pull off, Mom and my sister said they wouldn't be caught dead at my wedding. They made sure everyone knew it too, telling anyone who'd listen that I was just a cold piece of work. They didn't stop there, though. They started spreading all sorts of nonsense around town about me. But you know what? It didn't matter one bit. The big day came, and it was nothing short of awesome. Our family and friends filled the place up. There were so many of them. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone was there, laughing and joking around. It was loud, it was fun, and nobody brought up Mom and Sis. It was like we all agreed not to let them ruin the vibe. My bridesmaids were a whirlwind of activity. Girl, are those butterflies in your stomach, or just the 2 bottles of champagne? We guzzled, laughing as Lisa, always the joker, nudged me with her elbow while adjusting my veil for the 100th time. Just excitement, I guess, I replied, my smile as wide as the horizon. Well, you look banging, Jen chimed in, making tiny adjustments to my bouquet. Mark's going to fall over when he sees you. The ceremony space was filled with the tunes of a string quartet digging into my favorite classics. Nothing fancy, just raw music that filled the soul. Damn, can you believe you're about to get hitched? Lisa sighed, her tough tone softened by the moment. Believe it, I planned it down to the last pedal. I laughed as I peeked through the crack of the door at the guests filtering in. The ceremony was a blur of words and emotions. When it came time to exchange vows, Mark's voice filled the room. I promised to keep it real, to be your partner in crime, to have your back, and to make you laugh when life sucks. I took a deep breath, my hand shaking just a little. I promised to always be honest, to support your crazy schemes, to love you even when you leave your socks on the floor. The room erupted into laughter and cheers, the love tangible in the air like the warmth of the spring sun coming through the windows. As husband and wife, you may now kiss the bride, the officiant announced, and Mark wasted no time. It was the kind of kiss that said we were in this for the long haul, for better, for worse, and hell, even for the mundane. Later, as the party wound down, Uncle John found me, his face a little shiny from the festivities. You did good, kid, and if anyone gives you trouble, you send them my way. I will, Uncle Jay. Thanks for everything, I said, meaning every word. The night, the second for me, but his last as a performer in Chicago, was winding down, and Mark and I stood together, hand in hand, enjoying this moment. Want to kickstart this journey? He asked, squeezing my hand. Never before in my life have I been more prepared as we exited into the brisk night air. We slid into the car and down under all that tinny clatter with a just-married sign playing silly putty against its back. I turned to Mark, his face glowing in the street lights as we sped off. Here goes, he commented. His hand found mine. I said to myself, and felt it in my bones. So my new husband and I went on a honeymoon to this small beach cove, just for 2, sun, and the ocean. An entire week just chillin'. Nah, I never once called Mama or Sissy, and I was glad to stand by. Oh, you know family is supposed to be your rock, but sometimes you build your own ground floor. Those are what I did, so can confidently say that is solid. I just do not need that level of crazy in my life, nor will I welcome it back.